On April 6, 20032 A-10 Thunderbolt Street Wright planes are flying above Arar, which is close to Baghdad. Lieutenant Colonel Flight Leader. In support of coalition forces on the ground, Raymond Bonk T. Strasburger and his wingman Captain Greg Billy Bob Thornton are conducting a reconnaissance mission. However, none of the activity is visible to the Warthogs. The whole area has been blanketed by a sandstorm that has rolled in beneath them. Searching for weather breaks the two pilots' circle overhead. However, an urgent signal from the ground follows. The news is not good. The pilots are informed by their comrade First Lieutenant John Cock Bloker that Task Force 269 is held down at the closest point Muthana Bridge under intense fire. T-72 seconds from the 1st Hammurabi Republican Guard Armored Division are firing across the Tigris River and continuously bombarding the Americans. After many hours of fighting, the Americans are worn out and lacking on supplies. They're unable to retaliate. For us, it's over if the Iraqis cross the bridge. We require assistance. Are you prepared? Yes. The pair of Warthogs topple over and plunge directly into the thick sandstorm.
Donk, we need you now. I mean right now.
Visibility is far below any safety threshold. Iraqi army on the ground emerges from concealment and starts shooting at the US forces. As the air is filled with bullets, Cock ducks. We need you immediately, Doc. I mean now. The gunfire and explosions in the background of Cock's transmission are audible to Donk and Billy Bob. The two flyers level out low over the city, and then the buildings of Baghdad appear ahead. What a beautiful day. They race for the goal as the Tigris River appears in the distance, and they pursue it north. On either side, buildings are zooming. Cock, who is on the ground, draws his gun and begins firing back at the muzzle flashes that are tearing through the mist like lightning. Without a second's hesitation, he relays radio transmissions that get more and more urgent. Take firm action. To the east of the bridge, no friends. He is engaged in dual combat. Billy Bob and Donk are coming at full speed. The bridge's design begins to take shape as they hear the transmissions from the ground. Take a break to the left. As the target location shows up ahead, Billy Bob gives his commander space by pulling off Donk's side. We can see the bridge now, as a wave of jet engine roar sweeps across the battlefield. Donk grabs his stick and takes off. One by one, Donk looks over his shoulder to see the target, but before he can see anything, the ground disappears into the storm. In order for Cock on the ground to verify that he is in the proper position, he must mark the target. I'm making a mistake. As he aligns himself with the river and the bridge once more, he chooses his rocket pods loaded with smoke ammunition. The Iraqi anti-aircraft weapons are awaiting him this time. Columns of tracers shoot in enormous arcs into the air as 23mm anti-aircraft weapons roar to life. Respawn is an option. Whom though, his jet is barely missed by a flash of fire. Donk, however, persists. He fires aiming for the eastern base of the bridge. However, nothing occurs. The rockets don't work. Oh no, the bridge is rapidly approaching. As he flies low and fast above the target, he sees the silhouettes of vehicles and the flashes of tanks' muzzles. He hits the flare release button and unleashes a line of fireworks over the riverbed without any smoke, rockets, or time to consider. As he gets away from the barrage of anti-aircraft fire, he pulls hard to the right, skimming just over the buildings. I can see the tank and we're getting AAA. When I can, I ask for clearance. Coke can see the flares in the distance, even through the storm. He is aware that Donk is correct. You're free to participate, Donk. Copy easy to interact with. With actual weaponry this time, Donk turns around. As the ominous shape of Donk's Thunderbolt emerges in the distance, Iraqi AAA gunners scramble through the foggy air to find the source of the jet engine roar. The hand-crank guns are extremely difficult to aim in the low visibility. Streams of tracers ascend in Donk's direction, chasing him across the sky as he passes just feet away from his plane. Donk is unconcerned though. Through the hail of lead tanks and APCs firing across the river, he can make out the enemy. A BMP charging for the bridge is visible to him. Donk pulls the trigger after aiming his reticule squarely at the target. The people carrier is reduced to junk by the GAU-8's ominous trademark groan, which threatens the battlefield. Pulling the nose up, Donk swings west toward Ally lines, followed by columns of anti-aircraft, fire and soars just over the enemy. Bob, I've got tanks on the circle. Warning lights suddenly pop up on Donk's dash. He believes he has been struck. As he diagnoses his aircraft, testing the controls and inspecting his systems, Donk takes off from the action. The engines appear to be in good working order. The plane is flying normally and there are no fuel leaks. The only issue he notices is that his head-up display no longer has the drop-compensated reticle. He tries to restart the ballistics computer after clearing the master alarm, but it is dead. He allows his wingman to replace him before it's too late. You don't have to tell Billy Bob twice. From the south, bf109 b17 is hot. He aligns himself with the river and turns his A-10 down into the storm. He places the sights on the first target he spots as the battlefield becomes more visible through the fog. The primary battle tank is a T-72. A torrent of 30mm shells that pierce armor slams into the enemy tank. In a matter of seconds, fire breaks out from the hatches as sparks fly. He escapes the enemy fire, unharmed as he glides above. That sucker got me. Boss, he's exactly on the circle's west boundary. Donk still has an outdated crosshair, but he is unable to power on the computer. Although his aim may be incorrect, he can solve 3 900 tasks each minute, and there are problems below. He must make an effort. Entering. Donk bursts upon the action. Tracers tear through his canopy, revealing multiple targets. He fires the trigger after placing his vintage crosshairs above them. The terrible clang of the cannon trembles into motion. He roars past above as 30mm shells tear through the ground. I'm not sure if he's struck anything. Hotly cleared. Now, on his second pass, Billy Bob rushes south down the river. After spraying a brief burst into the already destroyed tank and seeing no new targets, he flips his aircraft over. He can see an anti-aircraft gun supply trucks and another T-72 shooting across the river, and up close the orange glare offers little cover. Billy Bob wants to destroy the anti-aircraft weapons, but the American troops could be killed by any one of those tank shells. He is unable to think about himself.
Hey, I got a second T-72 eastern position of the roundabout.
First, the tanks must be destroyed. Hello up the roundabout. I have a second T-72 eastern position. Verify that I'm fully back in. You're back in full force. Donk is keeping an eye on the fuel levels while Billy Bob gets ready for another pass. Before the parameters of this mission were known, they determined the minimum quantity of bingo fuel they would need to return to the airstrip on the ground. Donk is aware that their flying time can be extended. Bingo is being recalculated. While piloting the aircraft through the storm, Donk mentally calculates the distance to the closest airbase.
Target in the sky!
Billy Bob continues to fix his reticle on the T-72 that is still intact. The tank's fragile canopy is pierced by the Warthog's armor-piercing fire. Billy Bob screams overhead as the T-72 bursts into a huge fireball. Billy Bob is tracking the river for the third time in the meantime. He is aware of his aims now. The now gratingly familiar columns of anti-aircraft fire greet the area as it comes into view. Donk completes his computations up top. Bingo can be reduced by 500 pounds of gasoline and still reach the closest airbase on the bare minimum. Bingo should be revised by 500. Copy. After adjusting his gauges, Billy Bob goes for another run. He dashes up the river once more, prepared to demolish the supply trucks that come after. There is no chance that he will see the lone soldier on the roof. The missile shoots out of his tube and soars into the air while carrying a Manpad portable anti-air system. Billy Bob doesn't anticipate it. The approaching missile passes directly in front of his left wing after briefly losing its objective. Billy Bob turns right and gives up on the run, fleeing westward into the lines of the Allies. His heart is pounding. Death was only a foot away for him. Are you okay? Yes. He turns around for another run after pushing out to the back of his mine. Bullets fly by his cockpit again. Though not close enough, they are coming closer. He pulls the trigger as a supply truck approaches. As Billy Bob flees the scene, 30mm fire rips them to bits, their load exploding in flames. I have the trucks. Copy. I'm entering. Donk comes in for a second run. He chooses a Maverick air-to-ground missile, instead still without a ballistics computer, and turns on his multifunction display's camera. He must choose his target, but he is unable to see much via the camera due to the awful conditions. He must be quick. The anti-aircraft fire appears as the target location comes into view. He stays on course. The targets show up on the screen and are moving quickly in. He launches the missile after swiftly shifting the selection to another BMP. With a blaze of flames, it crashes off the rail and turns sharply downward, crashing into the BMP from above. The Iraqis are suffering severe casualties. They retreat from the riverbed to shelter behind the buildings pinned beneath the Warthog's relentless watch. The shelling stops for the American armored forces. The Iraqi infantry offensive in the rear likewise begins to withdraw in the absence of fire support. The adversary is retreating. You're performing admirably. Pilots get a sense of relief, but it is cut short by the flashes of AAA flying overhead. Bob, we need to RTB after one more run. Let's pull these weapons. Hell, the time has come. Billy Bob heads back in the direction of the goal. He focused on the lone AAA battery he had seen at the start of the altercation. Billy Bob fires after aligning his reticle. They tear apart the anti-aircraft gun. As he beats a retreat, he observes a column of tracers, just missing his wingtips as he heads back west over Allied lines. That second AAA gun is aimed directly at Dunk's wingman up above him. Coming in from the south is DMOB 7-1. Regards from the guys down there. Well done. Drinks are on me when I see you at home.
When I see you back home, drinks are on me.
Make a copy of that. I wish you luck down there. Billy Bob and Dunk depart the scene following a 40-minute brawl. Task Force 269 has few casualties and no loss of armored vehicles as a result of their operations. Greg and Raymond Dunk Strasburger, both Billy and Bob Thornton received the Silver Star for their valiant deeds and superb airmanship under the most trying circumstances. The Bronze Star and the Air Force Commendation Medal of Valor would go to A-10 pilot John Coate Blocker.
They all survived the war.
We hope they appreciate this movie and that they all made it through the battle. Despite our best efforts, it was insufficient. Similar to 1991, when our MiGs nearly shot down F-negative 15 seconds after intercepting them. See what transpired by watching this video.